The law is an ass. Charles Dickens said that, and every day American bureaucrats prove him right. Consider the Indian Child Welfare Act. It's a law passed to protect Indian children from being taken from their tribes and placed in non-Indian homes. This was a problem once. 100 years ago, white social workers took kids from the tribes and gave them to white families to make them American. ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act, made that illegal. But by then, it wasn't really happening anymore. And look what the law does now. Lauren Whiteshield was abandoned at birth by her biological parents. A North Dakota couple took care of her for 3 years. Then they moved to adopt her. Once adoption was raised, however, her birth parents' tribe invoked ICWA to stop the adoption, to take her from the only family she'd known and send her to her biological grandfather and his wife, Hope, even though Hope has a history of abusing her own kids. 1 month after Lauren moved in with Hope, this social worker says Hope killed her.
Hope had taken the kids and threw them down an embankment. Both kids got thrown down the rock embankment. The older kids were told not to say a word, and she was going to be fine. She just bumped her head. And they took them back to the house, and Lauren never regained consciousness.
Arizona's Goldwater Institute is now challenging ICWA in court. Starlee Coleman helped make that video. Why would they give the kids to Hope? The child has been 3 years with a family who loves her.
Yeah, I mean, this is the saddest thing about this law and why it is such a bad law, because it forces judges to subject Indian children to different and lower standards than every other American child is subjected to when they are considered for adoption or foster care placement. If a child is Native American, they say, what does the tribe want? And the tribe gets to decide where the child goes.
And the tribes almost always say, we want the child.
Not always. But sometimes they do.
Even if the child just has a 1%, a drop of Indian blood?
Yeah, we're seeing that play out right now in California with a case with a little girl named Lexi Page. She's 1.5% Choctaw. That means her great-great-great-grandfather was part Choctaw Indian. She's been living with the family for 4 years.
Foster family.
Foster family for 4 years. The foster family moved to adopt her. The Choctaw tribe stepped in. They've taken her away from the only family she's ever known, placed her with a separate family in Utah who's not even Indian.
In another part of your video, you tell the story of a little girl whose Indian mother gave her up for adoption and actually picked the family she wanted to have her. Her tribal leaders said fine, but then changed their mind, saying, we want the child. The adoptive parents spent 3 years in court and $300,000 in lawyers and court fees. They were finally allowed to keep the girl who lived with them for 3 years.
That somebody can interfere with that and say, we're sorry, you're wrong. And we're going to take it no matter what you want done, regardless of what you feel is best for your child. It seems insane on the survey, it really does.
3 years, $300,000. They had to mortgage their house. I mean, everything that they had went into trying to keep this little girl whose own mother chose this family. This is the family that she wanted her daughter to be part of. And the tribe stepped in and tried to block it. And we see this all over the country today.
So we called the tribes. We tried to ask them, why would you take them from these families? But they wouldn't talk to us. You, however, did interview one tribal judge who says it was a good law.
Any child that is Native should have the opportunity to know his or her culture.
They should have the opportunity to know their culture, but that doesn't mean that they should be forced into an environment that is unsafe. When you look at these cases where children are taken away from the only families they've ever known after years of being raised by a family, dropped off at another person's house, and expected to just assimilate into a culture that they've never had any background or information about, is totally insane to think that those children are going to grow up and everything's going to be just fine.
It's not. The law is an ass. Thank you, Starlee.